Hey everybody, how's it going? We're here with the Timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is Queen of Cups and Two of Swords, Five of Wands, Knight of Wands. Okay. This looks like something that's going on emotionally for you can be clouding your judgment a bit, and actually the part of you that wants to do something here, the part of you that feels called to action, feels like it's kind of fighting with maybe the emotional part of you. Because this part of you that wants to take action, this part of you that wants to do something, I'm seeing it be held back right now by the Queen of Cups, which is going to be the emotional lens that you're looking at things through. So if there's something that you feel like is clouding your judgment, I mean, it's not always interpreted as that immediately, but when it comes down to it, you can actually feel like something that's going on emotionally for you is actually clouding your judgment here and keeping you from taking action because it's creating conflict. Because I'm seeing with the Knight of Wands, this is something that you're meant to go through with. But there can be another part of you that's sort of holding you back here. When there is clouded judgment, it has to do, when the Queen of Cups is involved and there's clouded judgment, this has to do with the way that we want to see things versus how things actually are, and how when we want something badly enough, we can really do things to allow ourselves to believe what we want rather than what actually is, and then it keeps us from making a change, or it keeps us from taking action. And this part of you that's starting to feel restless is sort of looking over to the part of you that is the Queen of Cups and being like, this is something that's holding me back now at this point. So you can feel that tension within you. You can feel like there's one part of you that's holding on to something emotionally. You can feel like there's another part of you that's becoming restless now because it's being held back. And it's being held back by something that like isn't really a factor. Because when we have that Two of Swords with the Queen of Cups there, it means that something emotionally is being held on to that creates division because it's not aligned with the truth. It's difficult to sort of maneuver through this because it comes down to that place of what we want or what we're attached to, things being any way other than they actually are, and that getting in the way of us seeing how things actually are, and then also getting in the way of us doing what we want to do or what we need to do or what we feel called to do. It can sort of skew us showing up I'm seeing the Tower come out. And the Hanged Man. That's an interesting combination. Having the Tower and having the Hanged Man. So the Tower, I feel like this is about a perspective of the Tower. More specifically, when a Tower is going on, it can feel like our world we're going through a shakeup. Like something's happening. It can feel pretty severe what it is that we're experiencing, or just it really calls all of our focus and all of our attention to look at what's going on because it's something that we feel it's like a big thing that's going on. When the Tower first happens, there can be this feeling of crumbling of, hey, I was trying to build that and now you're knocking it over. And it's really because that's not what we're supposed to be building. It's not aligned. The foundation isn't stable. And so really this is the universe coming through and correcting something. So the Tower is never a mistake when it happens. It means that something was being built, there was a lack of foundation there, and so the thing starts collapsing. So this is that moment of collapse, and having it be connected with the Queen of Cups, this can be an emotional collapse that's happening. But what's happening is that it's like the building, some of it is being built with real sticks and some of it's being built with imaginary sticks. And so this is that moment where all of the imaginary sticks falter, and then you only have half of the support there, and so that's why the whole thing collapses on itself. So you can look at it and be like, why is this happening? This isn't supposed to be happening. And really what's going on is that there's an awakening to the truth, and that's actually what's happening here with the energy, especially when we have Neptune involved. So we go through that whole process of, I spent time building this. I wasn't aware that half of what I was building with weren't real sticks. And so now there's that mourning process of, I thought that I had made all of this progress. I thought that we were here. I thought that this was going on. And when it's that moment of being in collapse, there's that whole, why is this happening? Where did I go wrong? This shouldn't be happening right now. The whole process of, what is it, like the 5 steps of grieving, it's basically that whole thing that goes on, because it's not like we do it on purpose. It happens unconsciously when we do this. So it's not like you're setting yourself up on purpose to be upset or for this to end up happening. But it's what happens when there's this part of us that is connected with something that's going on, and the truth is there, and what we want so badly. And when it's a moment when what we want is not aligned with what's actually going on, it sort of replaces the truth. It's that moment where it shields it, where it covers it up, because it's something that we don't want to accept. And this is that moment where the whole thing breaks. The whole thing breaks open. So that's ultimately why this is happening. That's ultimately what's going on here. And this is ultimately meant to be a moment. When we have Tower and we have Hanged Man, this is looking into it. Why did that happen? What was going on there? And so this moment of having the Hanged Man, it's a time of reevaluation, because the Tower is happening. It can feel like a terrible moment. Whatever it is that you want to assign your experience as having about it, that's what it is for you. Usually that's not something that we want to go through again. And so that's motivation enough to look into this and figure out, how do I never have to experience this again? Because this is one of those towers that feels like, sometimes Tower is like a nice surprise that happens. This feels more so like you were trying to build something and now it's collapsing, and that the moment of witnessing that happening and being like, what wasn't I seeing? What was going on? How did it lead to this? Like, why did that happen? And that's why this happened. It's because a building with half of the building is real sticks and half of it is imaginary sticks, and that's why the whole thing is crumbling now. That's why this is happening. When we have Neptune and when we have Queen of Cups, what this means is that this is really a time to reevaluate on an emotional level and on an intuitive level. Because when we have Neptune and we have the Queen of Cups, there can be this tendency to see what we want to see rather than what is actually in front of us, and how we really do unknowingly, like unaware, take that as being the truth when it's not actually. So it's kind of like our desires overriding what we're actually seeing in front of us, but happening in a very unconscious way. So this is a time when this Tower happens where you can look back and be like, that was a red flag that I didn't acknowledge. That was a red flag. Oh, this should have told me something. You'll have one of those moments where you'll go back and everything that pops up is going to be another thing that's clicking into place. And this is a beautiful thing to be happening, even though it doesn't always feel like that when we're going through it. But afterwards, all of those moments where you're saying this was a red flag, or this was a time where I realized I wasn't paying attention, or I got a feeling when that happened and then I swept it under the rug, those are so important, because it tells you that in those moments, those were when you picked up the imaginary stick. and built with it. So that's why this is so important, to pay attention to the stuff that comes up in this moment, because it's giving you the answer to never having to experience this again, because you'll see where you went wrong. You'll see where you went, and not in a way of value, but more in a way of where things didn't work out the way that you wanted them to, or what you thought was happening wasn't actually happening. This is going to tell you how that happened. Those moments that you'll have, these moments of reflecting back and recognize when you picked up this stick that wasn't the real one, and then added it to the building, added it to the structure. And then when you do that, you'll see, of course, why everything collapsed on itself. And so you're going through the process right now where you're basically uncovering what was real versus what was the fake stick that you built with, and discerning the difference between the two of them. But until your vision is cleared, you're not going to know how to go forward with this. That's why when we have Queen of Cups and Two of Swords, it's saying there's still that, how was I phrasing it in the beginning? There's still that clouded vision, essentially, like something isn't clicking all the way, and so it confuses the Knight of Wands, so it doesn't know how to take action. And the Knight of Wands is that part of you that wants to do something, that's feeling restless, like, I need to do something, I need to take action. But when we have a clouded vision, if you go to take action without this being cleared out, what you do isn't going to be helpful. It's not going to be progressive. It's not going to get you where you want to go necessarily. It's kind of like a shot in the dark. So that's why clearing out this energy, which really does have to do with, it feels like heart clearing that's happening. It feels like throat chakra clearing, especially, that's happening, and also third eye clearing that's happening. And then you'll know how to move forward. There won't be this conflict anymore. Okay. Emotional Tower, seeing what you weren't seeing, things clicking into place now. I feel like, in a way, there's definitely something here that's being worked out that has to do with a nostalgic perspective of things. This can also be about your past too, like taking action on account of sentimental reasons that are based off of something that was happening at one time, or a perception of something that was happening at one time and may not be occurring currently necessarily. Until you feel like you're seeing things clearly, it is advised that you don't take action yet. Although, obviously, you can do whatever you want. That is for you to decide, but I'm definitely seeing this. This is going to be a bit of a process, and the more willing you are to see from this different perspective that is evolving now, the faster this is going to go. But the more resistant you are, the more you're like holding on, like, I still don't want to admit to that, or I still don't want to accept that. Like, the more that's happening, the longer this process is going to be. It's not better if you do it faster or worse if you do it faster. It's not about that. It's really just about your preference here. If you want this process to go faster, the more letting go you are throughout this, the faster it's going to go. The more letting go of your need for it to be what you want, and more so basing this off of wanting the truth more than anything, the faster this process is going to go. You will see what you need to see, and it will also allow you to catch up to current times and really be able to see things clearly. And in that moment, you'll know what move to make, and you'll know what to say as well, and you're not going to be clouded by stuff that is a non-factor within this. Because I'm seeing this, I want to move forward here, and I want to say something, I want to do something, and I feel like I can't. And it's because of needing to work this stuff out first, and then it will be very clear and very obvious for you how you're going to move forward with this. It feels like you'll know what to say, you'll know the right thing to say, and you'll even know what your heart is saying. This is the thing that needs to be expressed here. This is the move that needs to be made. It won't feel like I should say this, or maybe I should say that, and then I'm not sure, maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I want to say something. It won't be like that anymore. It'll be more automatic, because you won't have this stuff sort of blurring your vision anymore, essentially. You're dealing with your personal emotional stuff. Once that happens, you're going to be able to move forward with the process. I wonder too if something sort of kicked this off that happened in some sort of like erratic type of way. Like something about a powerful force of energy here that I'm seeing. And also too, figuring out when you feel like you're getting hit in a very sensitive place, how do you get all of the different archetypes within you to show up and support yourself through this? Not only to go through the process, but to figure out, not only going through the process like in this exact moment, but also like what to do sort of afterwards, like in the aftermath, what move to make then. Because processing happens first, and then what about when you're done processing? What about when that part of the process is concluded, how to move forward then? And this feels very much like you'll know how to move forward then. You won't be trying to figure it out and feeling like you're not getting anywhere. Once this is cleared up, it will also inform the part of you that wants to do something, that wants to take action then. And you'll feel like you're in the place where you're seeing things clearly, and it's not going to be something you have to think about. You just will know it automatically, okay? Basically, like, what's going to happen is that when you process, you are going to see what you're left with, and you're going to condense things in order to make a move. Can even be articulating it, but right now it feels like an explosion happened, and you have to like contain everything again. But as you are containing it, you're going through the parts of it. There's a word or something that I'm looking for here. If there are pieces that don't belong, you're basically separating those out to get to the core of this. So when you make the move, it is from that cleared space, essentially. I do feel strongly here with this that if you are stuck in the past with this, it's going to make it very hard to see how things are presently. If there's an only wanting to hold on to the past and only wanting to hold on to the very nostalgic, sentimental things from the past, you're not going to see the whole story. It's going to keep you from seeing everything. If there's even a like only looking at what makes you feel good when you think about it, or what's that comfy like soothing thing when you think about it, but that's not the whole story, that's also something too that can get in the way of you seeing things too. Also too, seeing things in only a pessimistic light or only things that you felt upset by, that can also be something that doesn't allow you to see the whole perspective. So this is about a well-rounded perspective so you know how to move forward and seeing all of those things. But I do definitely get something going on with certain past things that have been being held on to that feel they're not necessarily current anymore, that are not allowing for a clear perspective of what's currently going on. Some of you too, there can be something about emotional reciprocity that's being worked out. You can be learning about your emotional values too. That can be part of this. So the tower happens, learning from the tower, seeing what we need to see. And then coming back to a place where you're feeling connected and you feel like you're ready to share, ready to connect, ready to make a genuine move here that comes from a grounded, centered place. And then that's when action is taken. Because what I'm seeing immediately happen is this happens for you, and there's a part of you that may want to like reactively go do something, and it's not the time to do it until this is processed. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to come back to a space where you feel centered, where you're seeing things, where you've cleared out what you needed to clear out, and then you can continue onward. So this is like your part of the process that's happening. I'm definitely seeing a part of you that may want to act out because of this, or may want to act impulsively because of this. And it feels like it will bring rage with it, or it will bring conflict with it, or it will bring issues with it that don't need to be brought into it, because this is something that you can work out with yourself. Especially if another person is on the other end of this. This is something that can be worked out with yourself first. And then when you get into that centered space, that's when you make the move if it involves another person to do it from there. Because if you're like all over the place, it's like you're going to come across in a way where you're going to look back and be like, I acted too soon. I didn't even know what I was talking about, or I was going off of like half of the information. It wasn't totally processed. I was mad, or I was feeling like this and I took it out on. It's just going to be this whole thing like that. Ultimately, you're going to show up in a way that you don't feel is truly representative of you when you're in a grounded space. And so if you're ungrounded, don't show up. Like, wait until you go through the process. And know too that you're not running out of time. The process is going to take the time that it needs to take for you to do this. You'll know when you feel settled and ready to show up in an open heart space. But you're going through something right now that can really put you into fight mode, and whatever that looks like for you. And so you don't want to be acting that out when you're having some type of Mars activation over here. And this is something that can be contained. You don't have to act out because of it, even though there's a part of you that may want to project it outward. But really, you can use that energy to actually move through this very quickly. And then when you sort of come out, it feels like a dirty car that's going through a car wash right now, and when it comes out, it's going to look very nice and presentable and in its regular state when like all of the grime is washed off of it. And then that's when you can roll up and do what you want at that point. And you'll feel better about that too. You will feel like you're representing yourself better for doing it this way. And that is the way to move with this, okay? All right, my friends, we're going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.